Hello everyone and welcome to another Q&A video. This is the 9th Q&A video, I believe. I don't know, I don't remember. I don't really keep track of these Q&A videos. I'll just go and check right now and see what it is. Oh, nothing wants to load. I don't even remember. Oh, Q&A number 7 we've got. Yeah, I think we'll call it Q&A number 8, maybe 9, who knows. But anyway, another question. It's an interesting question actually about a marauder. Oh, my favourite class. I seem to be talking a lot about marauders recently. Ever since I left the game, all I do is talk about the marauder. I think I'm missing the marauder actually. Maybe slightly. I'm missing the marauder. But the question posed was, which spec is best for the marauder? Carnage or Annihilation or Combat or Watchman if you're a Sentinel. May as well apply this to Sentinels as well because it's the same thing. Personally, I always think it's a pretty interesting question actually, this one, and it's an interesting debate as to which is better, and there's no simple answer is the truth, because I would tell you that it depends on your gear level, to be honest, because in lower gear level, Carnage is a slightly better one. Carnage is better because Annihilation requires us to have a lot of crit, and it requires us to hit the accuracy cap, and we'll probably need to do that in at least 168 gear. You're probably going to be stacking accuracy in 168 and 180, whereas as a Marauder, as a Carnage Marauder, you can hit accuracy cap because you get a 6% boost, and that's your priority as DPS. Whenever you're gearing a DPS class, your priority, we're excluding main stat and endurance because I assume everybody knows what their main stat and endurance is. Everyone knows they have strength and endurance, but your of the secondary stats, your priority, your number one priority is accuracy, because that is your biggest loss of DPS while gearing, is not having the accuracy cap. The accuracy cap is of course 100% melee accuracy and 110% force accuracy. We're talking about the Marauder, so we're saying melee and force are the two things. They're the two caps that you need to hit. So getting a 6% bonus is pretty nice, because when you hit 55, if you have no accuracy in your gear, you will have 90% accuracy, which means that you have a 10% chance to miss on melee attacks, and I think you have 100% force. But don't forget that any mob that's level 55 that is elite or higher, which is all the raid bosses are elite or higher, they're all champions. So any mob that's elite or higher at level 55 has a 10% chance built in to resist our force attacks. So that's why we need to get it to 100%, 110% to eliminate that 10% built-in chance to resist. And of course we have to get our accuracy up, because we used to be about, I think we were about what, 95, 100% accuracy before 2.0, so it never really mattered that much. And going over the cap, there's no real benefit. You do reduce the chance that an enemy can parry or dodge your attack, but to be honest, a lot of people say it's not particularly worth it to go over the accuracy cap. Just get it to the cap so you can't miss, really. But yeah, I mean, if you're fighting tanks in PvP who do have, you know, extra mitigation, it may be worth it, but I never really do PvP, so not really gonna comment on PvP gearing, but I will comment on PvE because that's what I know, that's what I've been doing quite well actually. I mean, PvE gear is pretty easy to obtain, it's pretty easy to get to the accuracy cap. I can't remember what the crit cap was for Annihilation. It used to be 30%. I don't know if it still is. I know that you shouldn't be going near it, Annihilation spec, if your crit is under 25%. 25% is probably the minimum sort of cutoff point. If you're like if you've got like 22% crit, I would go with Carnage, because Carnage crit doesn't matter so much. So I would suggest that. But again, I think it's personally down to if you are geared and you have hit your accuracy caps, and you have got the crit, and you've got the surge. Surge is usually about, I think it's what, 70% surge. You do want some surge because you do get the your burn attacks or bleed attacks in the case of Carnage. Auto crit whenever you fire off your berserk, I think it is, or something like that. I can't remember what it's called. I'm not playing the game at the moment, so when you fire off your berserk, you get it does a little heal as well in a raid. It only heals for 0.5% of your health, and it heals everybody in the raid. So again, maybe if you're min-maxing and going for, you know, that extra bit of utility in Nightmare Ops, maybe it might be worth speccing into that. I think most Marauders that do Nightmare tend to go with not Carnage, Annihilation, just because it brings that little extra healing buff and you get those auto crits on the burns. I haven't seen the figures for 2.10 because I haven't really been following the game. I did see the teaser trailer, which wasn't a teaser trailer if you played the Legacy of the Rakata. If you did that Flashpoint, it's not a teaser trailer. We knew Revan was going to be in the next expansion. It's a terrible trailer. But yeah, I would suggest that until you're geared, go with Carnage. Because there's nothing wrong with Carnage. Carnage is a decent spec. And if you're going for if you like Carnage and you don't really plan on raiding Nightmare or raiding Hard Mode, I'd stick with Carnage, to be honest. I stick with Carnage on my Marauder. My Sentinel is Watchman because I did manage to gear her to... I did manage to get... I think she's got like 26% crit at the moment, and she's got... her accuracy is capped. She's not fully geared yet. But my Marauder, I don't really do anything... I don't really do any sort of hard modes or nightmare modes on my Marauder. I just tend to do the odd story mode. That's why I just stick with Carnage. There's nothing wrong with Carnage as a spec. It is a burst damage spec. Comes in handy in certain fights, you know, certain phases of fights that we need a lot of damage and we need it now. Carnage does have its place in the game, but both specs are decent. I mean, 2.10, you know, Carnage got buffed. 2.9, was it 2.8? It was that Annihilation got buffed. So, you know, I mean, going forward into 3.0, I think will probably still be the specs. It'll be interesting to see what they do with Rage or Focus. I see, because does anyone ever play? Does Rage still? Is it still good in PvP? I don't know, because I've never done PvP with a Marauder for a while. I used to use Rage for leveling. I always preferred that for leveling, because you got the crit smash. The crit smash is still there. They just took it out of PvP. Basically, if you hit charge and then you smash within a few seconds of that, it's an automatic critical hit. And there's the other thing, which I can't remember, the other leap thing. It was called Zealous Leap on the Sentinel. But yeah, that was the other thing that you got. So again, I apologize if the gameplay footage in this won't be a Marauder that you're looking at. It will be, I don't know what it'll be actually. It might not even be SWTOR because I've ran out of SWTOR footage, to be honest. And yeah, that's all. I personally go with the style you prefer. Go with what you like. Don't be too focused on the numbers. You know, don't get too caught up in the numbers, especially if you're leveling or doing story mode operations. There's no real point getting bogged down with the DPS numbers. The DPS numbers are only really there if you're doing the top end content. That's what you really care about, is DPS. And I think it is. I still think that Annihilation is ahead even after 2.10, but I don't know because I haven't seen any of the damage figures because I haven't been playing the game, so I haven't bothered to look at them. So I hope that answers your question. And coming back to SWTOR, probably September 30th will be resubbing to the game. Maybe sooner than that. Maybe, yeah, probably the final day of September we're coming back. I want to check it. I want to continue min-maxing. So 3.0 is coming. So in October I will be doing a few videos. We'll be talking about 3.0 and we'll go in depth and we'll make a video on how I think you should prepare for the expansion, because having been through the previous expansion and learned a few lessons, I'll share them with you. So we're going to talk about 3.0 in more detail in October and how to prepare your toon or toons even for 3.0. we'll talk about that. We'll also talk about which character am I gonna be a main? Am I gonna main in 3.0? Because 2.0, I spent a lot of the time as a merc. I spent a lot of the time as a mercenary. The original version, I spent a lot of time as a sentinel, a little bit of time as a mercenary, but mostly when we were doing progression raiding, I was a sage healer. That's what I did in the first version. So I don't know. I kind of like the idea of a scoundrel. I'm thinking about that so far. I kind of like being a healer class, to be honest. Healing is the role I feel most comfortable in. But we'll talk about that a bit more in depth. So thank you for joining me, and thank you for your question. It is a good question, actually. But so what do you think? Let me know in chat what you think. Shout at me on Reddit. Most people do. So thank you for joining me. I'll see you soon, and goodbye.